Hey, I'm ready to share a little bit more. I stopped in my last video right at the point where I was sharing how devastated I was at the loss of my father and how I had to really pull myself together, even at the very beginning when I first found out. And I didn't understand that at first, but later I realized it was really because I felt cheated out of the opportunity to spend more time with him. I'm going to be real transparent here. My daddy loved me, and I know it, loved me to death. And he was good to me as a dad. He was not always a good mate for my mom. And because of that, our home life wasn't what it really needed to be. And so inevitably, as adult women, we ended up having a father who lived apart. We would see him and get to spend time with him, but he wasn't a part of our group, which was tightly knit, where we spent almost all of our time that we had that wasn't work or busy doing something that we had to do. We spent our time together, and that included our mother, but it didn't always include our dad. And so in retrospect, I realized that not having the opportunity to spend time with him and do things for him and be there for him in his final time was what hurt me the most when I knew I lost him forever. With that being said, I will lead into why I think I'm so much at peace. Now, don't get me wrong. I miss my Rosie. Not a day goes by that I don't find myself doing something, thinking something, planning something, and I have to remind myself that I don't have to plan a part that includes her. She has always been the silver lining through everything in my life, even when she didn't live here with us in Huntsville. And so her absence is, but at the same time, I feel good about the fact that I was able to give back to her all that I had within me. To say to her, I value everything that you did for me. From the fact that you did not choose to get rid of me when you knew you were pregnant. From that moment till the day you said goodbye 2 weeks before you actually died. The fact that I think you hung on, matter of fact, I know you hung on because you weren't afraid of death or what comes after death, because you had a faith that would not die. But you hated leaving us concerned about what would happen to us, even though all of us are grown. I had all of that in my thought, and I wanted to make sure that you were confident that you didn't have to worry about us, and that there was not one moment of your whole experience where you were sick, where you would have to worry about what was going to happen. So you see, friends, those of you struggling with this same loss experience, whether it's a mom, a child, a spouse, whatever it is, from the time my mom started losing her ability to be totally independent, I stepped up. I took over one thing after the other that she would allow me to take over. Right up to January when I found out she was sick. And then I decided that every moment that I didn't have to be at work or have to be at home or at church, because church was still critical to her. She would tell me, go do what you need to do at the church. Those moments belonged to Rosie. Zelda and I took turns. When we could not be there 100% ourselves, we got Tiffany to stay in the house with her, so she never had to leave her house to go stay somewhere else. We got our niece, my niece, Zelda's daughter-in-law, to be there in the daytime. So she had 24-hour company. When COVID came on the scene, I hate COVID, but COVID meant I didn't have to go to work. So every day I went straight up out of my bed to Rosie's house. Lisa was in Florida. COVID caused her not to be able to go to work. She came to Alabama. So that at that point, Rosie's 3 little girls were her 3 support system caregivers. We each brought a different dynamic to the whole picture. There were things that I was stronger at doing than Lisa, things that Zelda was stronger at doing than either Lisa or myself. And we were a perfect team together. Now, let me get real. I was selfish. I prayed and I said, Lord, I don't want my mama to go, but I don't want her to suffer either. So in your infinite wisdom, when you see fit to allow her to take her last breath, I want to be here with her. Not either one of my sisters, not Tiffany, not Vanika, me. Let me be the person right beside my Rosie, rubbing her hand, rubbing her head, telling her it's okay, girl. It's all right. And so every day I went and I'd get in that bed with her. I didn't sit out front. I did not do things in the kitchen. If Lisa and I were both there, Lisa might be out front cooking food for her, doing the part Lisa did. I would go and watch all those Bill Gaither videos, and I would watch old cowboy shows and Little House on the Prairie. Whatever it was she wanted to watch, 3ABN. But I would sit right there with her. And she'd say, you finna go home? I said, I'm not going anywhere, Rosie. And then some days she'd say, you're going to have to go back to work soon, aren't you? I said, I'm going to be right here, Rosie, till you don't need me to be here. And she would just smile. And at first I knew she was worried about what would happen because she thought we'd all have to leave. But at some point, I think she realized we weren't going anywhere. We were there. She gave us life. She loved us with all her being. And now she had 3 willing, loving women who loved her equally, who were not going to be moved. And so I tell you that the worst part of this whole process for me at the end was the third person I prayed about in death. First, my godmother at 14, and then Alex at the hospital. Telling God what I wanted him to do, how I wanted him to do things, what I wanted to have happen. And in this case, giving him permission to go on and take my mama, but telling him how I wanted him to do it. Lord, I need to be here. I need to be the one holding her hand, caressing her, singing to her, praying with her, so she's at peace when it's time for you to call her home. Would you believe that we called in hospice one day before Rosie died? One day they came in and talked to us about what the possibilities were and what we could do, et cetera, et cetera. And we did because it had reached a point where we realized we needed to provide her with something to give her comfort. Prior to that, it wasn't outside our control. She didn't have a whole lot of pain, but now we knew it's not fair. We need to call hospice. One day after calling hospice, we're all there again. Early in the morning, just like every other day. And I can tell something is different today. And nobody wants to make the decision because Donna's the strong one. She has to make the decision. And I say, call them. Tell that nurse she needs to come right now because she needs to give her something. We can't let her suffer like this. And so the nurse comes and she talks to us about the possibilities, and she gets medication and puts it and gets it all ready and all of that good stuff. And then she says, you all need to write everything down. Now, hear this. We all have tablets. We all have devices. I'm on my iPad 24/7, probably not that much, but a lot. Didn't dawn on me, make notes on your iPad. I say, that's no problem. The store is right up the street. Dollar General, I can be back in minutes. I will go and get a tablet. I jump up, get my keys, go, and I'm gone maybe 8 minutes. Listen to me now. I'd pull up and Lisa's standing outside. And I can tell by the look on her face. Matter of fact, I'm wondering, why are you outside first? But then she doesn't have to say a word. And I'm so mad once again. God, what did you do? You didn't answer my prayer. Do y'all hear me? Oh, and I heard. And I was mad for a few minutes. I've been there every day because I told you what I wanted you to do and how I wanted you to do it. And you took her while I was gone. And then he spoke to me just as clear. Donna, I did what I know was best for you. And it's okay. She knew. Now, with all of that said, I sit back and I think, and I'm so grateful because what I thought I could handle, I believe God understood I probably could not. Instead, I have the joy of knowing how much I was able to do. Even just sitting there watching old shows with my mama. Laying in the bed beside her, doing nothing, just making sure she knew I'm just okay being here with you. So you're not alone. And I don't have a videotape in my mind of those last moments. Because you see, my sisters shared with me that they weren't good moments. It was really rough. And God, in his infinite wisdom, shielded me from it. Do you hear me? We serve an amazing God. That even though death comes, and it has to come, he knows what we can bear. He weighs it. And I'm not a novice anymore, y'all. I can tell you from experience. I know what it feels like to lose people that are dear to you. And I've come so far. That experience when I was 14 was horrible. My dear Uncle Jerry had to come down to South Florida and get me and bring me up to Phoenix City, Alabama, right outside Columbus, Georgia, and I stayed all summer just to get me back together enough to make it on. And then most of you who are viewing this, you were here with me through my Alex experience. I'm sharing with you now in my most sincere, honest way, because I believe that God allowed me to experience what I experienced to make somebody else strong. So I'm going to be transparent. And I'll end today by simply saying this. We don't tell God what to do. We can ask, and he will decide based on what he believes is best for us. If we trust him to do what's best in our lives, we can handle that. When you're in the midst of it, you don't understand that or even often believe that. You don't even want that. But it's true. God loves us enough, so much actually, that he will not always answer the way we want him to answer, but he always answers. And his answer is what we need. He has considered us, everything about us, and decided this is what my child needs right now. And it may be the loss of a loved one. Can you believe I'm saying that? When Alexandria Hannah left this world, I didn't even want to talk to nobody. And I'm telling you that I watched myself pull away from people, little by little by little. I didn't even want to. I'm a people person. Y'all know me. You know that. I love people. I love being around people. I'm a social person, but I saw myself gradually pulling away one person at a time. And probably the only people who stayed close were those who understood me well enough that they wouldn't allow me to detach. Edith was one of those people. Thank God for Edith Frazier. Because I know I'm who I am today in this process, largely because of her determination to pull me back. And so it has taken me 10 years, 11 years, and now the loss of my mom, to be strong enough to tell somebody else. I don't want you to lose yourself. And I'm going to stop right there for today. There's more. Pray for me as I pray for you.